Right, ons is vandag hierso by die launch van Revitech. Okay, ek praat met Kalb, nee. Dis hy maak dik oester aan die ander kant in Amerika. Daar net om al die pad hier nou te gesmokkel. Okay, kom ons hoor 'n bietjie wat is die belangrikheid daarvan om jou plant groen te hou so lank as moontlik. Hier is nogal 'n baie cool konsep en hoe pas 'n ordentlike swamdoder program in jou boerdery in. Kom ons luister. Kevin, how are you?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
No, I'm good, thanks. Listen, before we get into it, just explain to me quickly, okay, you farm in America. Just give me more or less an idea of what does your farming setup look like? How do you guys farm?
So we kind of do everything. We no-till, we strip till, we minimum till, and then we do full conventional. So we do about everything.
So literally the whole lot. And
the whole
is that just horses for courses, depending on the field, the conditions, or the year, or what do you base that on?
So we farm everything. We farm steep hills. We farm creek bottoms. We river bottoms. So we farm every type of dirt that you got. So we have kind of a management practice for everyone. Like our big steep hills, we'll no-till them. Our lower gently rolling hills will strip till.
Is that also just for runoff of the water and those types of things?
So yeah, the no-till is 100% for the management of the erosion on our hills. The strip till, I love strip tilling. If it'd be up to me, I'd strip till 100%. I love the seed bed that the strip till lets my planter go into. But there's reasons like the river bottoms, we're full conventional, ripping the ground to bury the residue so it don't wash away, so we can recycle those nutrients back into the plant.
Okay, so and you're mainly maize farmer, corn basically.
Yeah, I mean we do plant some soybeans. If we can get them planted for us in the States by April 10th, where I'm at, I will plant some soybeans. And the biggest reason is, one, our soybeans with the high fertility that we have, our soybeans will get too tall. So naturally, Mother Nature helps shorten them up for us. And say we get into May, no matter what we do, we cannot generate the yield that we can by planting our soybeans in early April. So it's a yield thing and a timing thing.
We've got the same thing here in the Northern Cape.
Yeah.
That's the excuse I use. That's why my yields isn't that Donnie's.
Exactly.
Okay, but when you look at maize, I mean, the yields that you guys are getting are phenomenal, okay? And then it's easy to sit and say yes, but they've got the perfect rainfall and they've got the perfect soils, and these things are basically almost, they're planting in compost and whatever. That's all the different things that you've heard before. What is that core thing that you go like, okay, cool, before each harvest, whatever, that is the one thing that you're focusing on?
So our focus is attention to detail on everything. So we're making 7-8 passes through the crop as it's growing.
Yeah.
You know, we don't rush the envelope as far as trying to plant early. We know it's very important to get an even stand. For corn, we can't plant early, or like I said, the first part of when everybody else is planting, we're not planting corn because we can't get an even emergence. So we're pushing our planting date back a little bit when the ground temperature warms up. And then, like I said, we go into, when we apply our herbicide, we're making sure we're before V4, before that corn's determining rows around. Just anything that we can do to minimize stress on certain times of that crop's life. And then we're feeding it at certain times of that crop's life.
What's your end goal? A lot of people just go for yield. What's your end goal?
So now we're not the cheapest, I will say that, because we do cut way back on nitrogen. Like I said, for US, we're less than 1/2 pound of nitrogen per bushel, which is extremely good. I mean, most guys in the US are 1.1 to 1.2 pounds in, but we do spend money on zinc and boron. So per bushel, that's what I always say, we go by per bushel. We are probably Like now, with the prices high, we're about $2.70 a bushel right now on input costs.
So whenever I hear the $3 a bushel thing, I know that, okay, at least you're making money, but there's a lot of guys that's not.
Yeah, I mean, my theory on bad prices is not to cut back on inputs, it's to grow more bushels. You know, that's I see a lot of guys get in trouble, just kind of like the fungicide thing. We got guys in our area say, well, I'm not spending that money on fungicides. Well, my theory is I've already spent 95% of my money on this crop already. It's awfully dumb of me not to protect what I can. You know, I'm not going to gain bushels, but I'm going to save the ones that I spent the other 95% of my income on to preserve those bushels.
Because, I mean, you spoke about black layering, okay? So that's basically when the kernel gets that little black piece,
Yep.
and you know that, okay, cool, so now it's
done. Yep.
You're not going to basically be able to put anything in there anymore. And that's one of the things that as a farmer, I usually thought that, okay, but it's done when it's done, okay? Is that the case or not?
No, 100% not. So,
Because sorry, I just want to on that, because they always say, okay, no, it's so many days till physiological ripened, and I always thought that no, okay, so that's when, doesn't matter what you do up until then, it will black layer on that day.
No, so the name of the game to gain bushels is to extend the grain fill period. So we plant 120-day corn just because we don't have 130-day corn available in the States. So my rule of thumb is from my first day of tassel till my corn black layers, I want at least 70 days of grain fill.
Yeah.
So
And is that also to do with the amount of nutrients you can get into that kernel per day?
So it's two things. It's fertility that we run, and it's plant health. And the only way we can be the most efficient on both of them is to have them both working together, as far as spraying the fungicides late to keep the plant healthy. Like I told you earlier, every little spot you have a disease on a leaf, that vein, when you look at that leaf, that vein is dead to you. From that spot all the way out to the tip, that plant is not going to pull in photosynthesis to that stalk. That's bushels lost. No matter what you do, you can't make that back up. So we are very proactive on pulling tissue samples, feeding the crop exactly what it needs, and then applying the fungicides to make sure that plant is as healthy as it can to pack everything in until it's ready to be done growing.
Can I bring it back to an engine? If you've got the pipes that goes to the diesel injectors, and you've got one that's blocked off, you will have a engine that's running on one less cylinder.
So there was a show on Discovery Channel 3 or 4 years ago called Street Outlaws.
Yep.
Drag racers. I mean, these guys were making 4,000 horsepower, running an eighth of a mile, running like 300 mile an hour. So it's the same thing. Let's say the corn plant is the engine. You got all this horsepower. Well, if you don't have the health, I mean, the tires, the transmission, you know, everything that goes with it, to get that power to the ground, it does them no good. So that's kind of, when we give talks, we kind of make it like exactly what you said. It's kind of like a race car engine. You can have all the horsepower in the world. You can feed it everything at once, but if it's got disease or the plant's dying because of disease, it does you no good. So we kind of merge, you know, plant health, spraying the fungicides, plus our balanced diet to grow what we do.
So if I understand you correctly, you basically, and okay, now let's take a step back. But why did you do this? Because a lot of times it's just people go plant health, whatever. I don't care. At the end of the day, it's about how many. Now we're going rands here.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
But how much money are you making per hectare at the end of the day? Because that is why we're farming, and it doesn't help that you're not profitable. So if I understand you correctly, you've come from, I think, to say, I'd rather cut back on some of the nutrients and spend that money on fungicides,
Yes.
and also make sure the herbicides and
Yeah,
all of that,
yeah.
everything is correct, but spend that rather on fungicides because that's where you found over time that you get the best ROI.
So when we before we started to implement the heavy fungicide, we were black layering at 29 to 30% corn.
Yeah.
Well,
So that's the moisture in the pip when you're
and
harvesting.
that's the moisture in the kernel.
Yeah.
So, but by extending that by dropping 5 more points of moisture, that's roughly about 8 more days that plant is getting to pump starches into that kernel, which equals, depending on your yield, like let's say 300 bushel corn, that would equate probably to 12 to 20 bushels. You go to 350 bushel yield environment, you're going to 20 to 25 bushel that it can get.
So just for us to be able to make the calculation a little bit better, percentage-wise, what is the weight gain on your average kernel size that you got?
On the last, just trying to do the math here, close to 10%.
Close to 10%
Yeah.
that you get in those 8 days,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
So because you work your ass off for the whole year, and then it's just like a small thing that you could have done in the beginning, basically just extends the life of your plant.
Exactly.
So that's your outlook when if I understand you correctly, is that how do I get my plants to black layer as late as possible?
Yes, exactly. You hit the nail on the head. We try to extend that as long as we can because the longer you grain fill, like I said, that's more nutrients flowing into the kernel.
Last thing, okay? And because now the question comes, yes, but how does he know this, okay? What is the practices on your farm in terms of, and I mean, this is stuff that you've been doing over years, how do you measure the stuff that you're doing so that you know next year when you come back, you can do it a little bit better?
It's actually pretty simple. We pull tissue samples every week. So when we first started this, now, I said we've been doing it for 16 years, and every week after 300 GDUs, we'd start pulling the same spot of the field, this and that. So the first probably 6 or 7 years, we would pick out a couple nutrients and try to just work on them and raise them while keeping the plant healthy. And then we were seeing, hey, at R5, we want to be like 60 on the boron, or we want to be I don't know, on manganese we want to be 180, so it did take us a little time to figure that out, but now we don't guess anymore. We got data from year after year after year after year of yields. We write down the weather that we had, the amount of rain at each time growing part of the season. So now when we go out and fertilize, we know exactly how many gallons, because we're all liquid, how many gallons of each nutrient we're going to put down. We don't guess anymore at all. So it ain't like at the beginning of the year I'm going to say, well, I'm going to put 240 pounds down. No, it's 100% based off of what our tissue samples say.
So basically what you did is you took out the guesswork?
Yeah, there is zero guessing. And then here's what's neat too. So not having a drought or a major flood, by having my tissue samples at a certain number every year, when I get to tassel, I pretty well know within 10 bushel of what my yield's going to be.
What?
Yes.
So you can actually plan?
Just by reading off what the tissue samples
So
say.
you're the only farmer in the world that can plan his cash flow?
Well, like I said, now if we get a drought or
100%.
But if we have a normal year, I can guess our yield within 10 bushel. Just reading off what the tissue samples
But
say.
here's the other thing, okay? So we had the launch of this Revitech thing, okay? But does that also enable you to then say, okay, this is a new variable that you're bringing into your farm, but the rest of the stuff is constant because you know, and you can tell basically within a season, this product is worth it or not.
Because the tissue samples will show it. So, I mean, we had this talk like when last year, for instance, we went 53 3 days with 2/10 of an inch through grain fill. We still had 2 fields that grow 400 bushel corn. That's crazy. But, you know, it's been a thing that we've been doing. We've been working on the salts in the soil, but the tissues, when we used the fungicides as a stress relief, we didn't use it for a disease relief. We used it to give that plant a chance to cool down, regroup itself.
And that's things like the strobeans, the strobies, and all of those types of things. So whenever I'm looking at either drought conditions or like temperature fluctuations, things like that, that is a component that will also just because of the stress relief component help me through that time. Bonus question. Okay. What is the one thing you will never ever do on your farm again?
Use dry fertilizer.
That's a big statement. Explain to me exactly why. What have you found? What was the problem?
So, the problem with dry fertilizer is the salt content and availability to the plant. So we're spoon feeding the plant. You know, I'm going in with making Y drops through the season. I want something that I apply as soon as I get, you know, certain nutrients only takes a ½ inch of rain to become available. Boron, manganese, sulfur can get in the plant a little bit, but when you throw a dry fertilizer out there, it's a rock. It takes moisture to break that rock down. So if you don't get, you know, 2-3 inches of rain, you're not getting any of that dry product in the plant.
So in South Africa, it's even worse than.
So it makes it worse. And then the salt, like potash, which is the #1 used fertilizer in the world, is so much. It's like 40% salt. I mean, if you're in a drought, are you going to go out and drink a bunch of salt? No, you're not. It just makes common sense.
It's going to. We make biltong. You've had biltong, and that's what we use to make biltong is salt. We use it to dry out the meat.
Yeah, and then not only that, but once you start pulling soil samples, now I don't pay much attention to the nutrients in the soil because we are more concerned with. We're 100% concerned with what gets in the plant, not what's in the soil. The soil don't pay me what's in the soil. So that's the mentality guys have got to see. It kills me when our co-ops in our area will go out and make a recommendation based off of soil samples. Well, you don't know what's getting in that plant off of soil samples. We got extremely high numbers of P and K on our farm from the years of manure.
Yep.
But guess what? My tissue samples are telling me it's not getting into the plant.
It's just the foundation.
It's just the foundation. But then when you start pulling your soil samples and diving in and seeing the biology, you know, when you start breaking down your bacteria numbers, your fungi numbers, I don't have, you know, most guys that run dry fertilizer will have like 20,000 to 1 bacteria to fungi numbers. And that's not good. You want to be as close to 1 to 1 as you can be. When guys make a change, I always say this, don't expect miracles in the first year. It takes time to heal that ground back up.
So it's what you're telling me is put your expectations, let's say take a 10-year view on stuff, measure it, and over time look back and see if you are going in the right direction.
So it won't take that long. You know, most of the guys in our group that's changed from dry to liquid, you know, some of the guys that have been doing some parts of liquid, they see it in 2 or 3 years. But most guys 4 to 5 years, and they're like, you know, we're 100% now liquid. I mean, I'm kind of proud of this. 98% of our guys, the farmers that's in our back group, are 100% liquid now.
And they're getting the results.
And, well, if you look on the National Corn Growers Association for yield, our group has won more than anybody else has.
So the result speaks for themselves.
The results speak, and it's not just a contest. I say the contest because that's what most people go by, but we're talking farm averages. 60, 70 bushel within 3 or 4 years, some guys gain.
So, if I understand you correctly, then also with the fungicides and I mean even your the insecticides and everything that you also have to spray. Basically, if you go to a liquid system, you are more geared towards it doesn't become an extra spray or this or that.
No.
It's just part of the program.
So
as
that's
you go
100%,
along.
yeah. So I mean, I 100% know that what I'm going to do every year. I mean, I'm not going to pull it. Well, now we can pull one Y drop out. We can make it two, but then you get into more humic acid. We do run a lot of humic acids to help buff even the liquid salt that's in 30 or UAN or whatever you use. But humics is a big player in our program. But the humics help retain moisture in the soil. Put it this way, so where we pull up with our planter and fill up planting, we had a spot that spilled, where we unhooked the planter or the hose from the planter. So probably had 2-3 gallon laying down there. That was in April. We went back in July, like the 15th of July, and that spot was still wet from the humic acids there.
Jeez.
So, I mean, the humic acids will, if you pull my in season, right where I band everything, I told you most of my CECs are 12 to 18.
Yeah.
But right there in my band where I put everything, I'll go to 35 to 40 on my CECs. And
in the next season, it goes down again over time. But within that band for that season, it lasts.
So we make multiple applications of humic.
Yeah.
So it's with the 2x2 and then both Y drops because we're still buffing out the salts. That's what we're using it for. But I don't treat my whole acre the same. So a corn plant technically only has 4 inches going out each way of roots. So let's say 5 to make the math.
That means anything.
Well, it means a lot here. So let's say to do the math, let's go 5 inches. Make it easy. So you're on 30 inches. So 1/3 of that acre is being used to grow the crop. That is the only third that I am concerned about. So we don't broadcast anything other than our manure. That's the only way we can spread our manure.
And you're on 50-inch rows.
And we're on 30-inch rows. So my theory is why I'm so much more efficient, everything I'm putting is right there where the roots is getting. So even if you spread dry urea, you're 15 inches away. Say you put 200 kgs down per hectare. The stuff that's 15 inches away is not going to be nearly, you're going to be about 60% efficient.
And then half of that goes into the air and
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
the other.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not very efficient.
So
on
what
anything.
you're saying is efficiency and
So we actually we made the commitment. We were 100% in this, and our farm is kind of unique because it's 100% family. So me, my wife, and my kids do our farming. So we were farming another farm about 12 miles away, another 600 acres. We gave that farm up, let the rent go, and I will tell you, the next year I implemented my whole program to every acre. We grew more total bushels with 600 less acres of corn just by being efficient. So that's 600 acres less rent, 600 less acres of seed, 600 less acres of fertilizer, and we grew more total bushels then than what we did with this.
And your timing is better because
100%, we can do
the
it.
same equipment,
Yep.
get in when you
Yep.
need to get in.
Yep.
Right, dit is Kevin Kalb, nee, aan die pad van Amerika af. Luister, ek kan maar luister wat hierdie ou sê. Dis 'n ander manier van dink aan die goed en as jy mooi daaroor dink. Ons grootste limiting factor op die einde van die dag is water, nê. So as jy daai plant kan kry om die water so goed as moontlik te gebruik op die einde van die dag. Ek dink dis waar die tonne lê. Dis die van Farmspace af. Revitex se launch. Kom met jou naaste BASF agent in kontak. Tot volgende keer. Groete.